Hi, I'm Paris, and if you walk into the seasonal aisle of any supermarket or drugstore right now, you'll be reminded that Easter is coming in April. And if you're watching TV, you can't help but to have seen all the burger chains advertising their fish sandwiches because Lent is starting this week. Which made me wonder, since last year I had my first Impossible Burger, tastes so good, just like meat, smells like meat, tastes like meat, same texture, I wondered, can you have an Impossible Burger on Fridays during Lent? Now, I'm an out-of-practice Catholic, but I know that the Church has eased up on the dietary restrictions during Lent. Still, some people like to do it the traditional way, which is meat-free Fridays. So I had to do some research into the origin and intention of Lent to get a better idea of whether an Impossible Burger on Fridays during Lent is okay or not. What I did not find was a consensus amongst people in the Church over whether it is okay or not. So let's go way back to what St. Thomas Aquinas wrote about fasting and Lent. And I'll link to this passage in the description box down below the video in case you'd like to read it for yourself, or if I mispronounce some of the words. He wrote, "Fasting was instituted by the Church in order to bridle the concupiscences of the flesh, which regard pleasures of touch in connection with food and sex. Wherefore the Church forbade those who fast to partake of those foods which both afford most pleasure to the palate and, besides, are a very great incentive to lust. Such are the flesh of animals that take their rest on the earth and of those that breathe the air and their products, such as milk, eggs, etc." Okay, it doesn't really say etc., but my understanding of this is that land animals and animals in the air you shouldn't be eating, but that does leave animals that live in the sea. That's why you can have fish sandwiches on Fridays. So what was the Church getting at in asking people to abstain from meat on Fridays during Lent or other times when they should be fasting? Well, the great incentive to lust, I'm not going to get into that part, but where they do mention that it's a pleasure to the palate, and that's what you're supposed to be giving up. So, meat tastes good, it's a pleasure to eat. I certainly think so. I can't eat it anymore for medical reasons, but I loved a good set of ribs or a steak. That's good eating. So if I'm going to be giving up something that I enjoy, giving up the steak is going to be much more sacrifice than giving up the potatoes. So what does it mean for the Impossible Burger and other fake meats that taste just like the real thing? Well, you're following the letter of the law if you're eating a completely plant-based burger, but are you following the spirit of the law? And I found in an article in an online food vlog, which I'll link to also down below this video, someone spoke to an official at the church and they said pretty much the same thing. So I asked an official with the Catholic diocese if eating one of them, an Impossible Burger, on a Friday during Lent violated church rules. And he said no, as long as it's not meat, technically you're fine. You're meeting the letter of the law, but it's up to each person to decide if they're meeting the spirit of the law. So it's on the conscience of each individual whether they feel they would be violating the spirit of the law by eating that Impossible Burger, so that means you have to decide for yourself. If I were still eating meat, I would feel it would be cheating to eat an Impossible Burger on meat-free Fridays, and it's not like there's nothing else you can eat. As a vegan now, I've had to discover tons of other ways to get my protein. But if you're more of a mind of, I'd gladly pay you Fat Tuesday for an Impossible Cheeseburger today, that's good too, so long as you're okay with it. And I'll see you on the next review.